Ciao and welcome back to our Italian for Beginners. This is a course for beginners, so for those who have never done Italian before or are just starting. These lessons, it is divided into lessons, can also be useful for people who are at an intermediate level and maybe they want to revise certain things. So this is lesson 9, Lezione Nove, and we are going to see a new topic. Today we are going to talk about hobbies and how we spend our free time. And before starting, I want to thank again all the subscribers and those who like the videos, share and leave comment. So thank you very much for following my videos. And feel free to ask me in your comments for more information, clarification. Also, if you want me to cover specific topics. This course, as I said, starts from the very, very beginning, so from very basic, and then gradually and slowly we'll build and have bigger sentences, more complete sentences with more information, and we get to know how to construct sentences and how to have conversation. And so I do advise or recommend people to follow this course in particular from the very beginning. There is a playlist, which is Italian for beginners. However, I also have other videos which cover various topics. Mainly, these topics are for intermediate or advanced level. So at this point, if this is all you know about Italian or you know a very limited language, those other videos may be a little bit too difficult or confusing or overwhelming. However, if instead you are a bit confident enough at this point, you can have a look in order to know what's expecting you, but please do not be discouraged by certain things. That's what I mean. I don't want you to get scared by certain topics, or especially when it comes to grammar and maybe looks a little bit too complicated at this point. It is better to do things gradually. When you feel confident doing a specific thing, then you can go on to something else. For example, at the moment we are talking, we are using only the present tense. So perhaps you can have a look at those other videos which are not in the playlist that covers the past tense, as long as I said, it doesn't scare you off. Right. So let me share the documents that I have prepared for today. Right, so at the top of the page, we have the word in English, hobby, and also in Italian, passatempo. We do use the English word as well, but as I said before, in Italian, normally we do not, I'm looking actually at a mini spider here, as long as he builds his little house somewhere else, not on top of my computer. So we've got the English word hobby. However, as I said in the past, in Italian, we do not pronounce the H, the beginning of words. So we would pronounce, in Italian, we pronounce it hobby. Otherwise, we can use the Italian words, which is passatempo, pastimes. So if you want to ask somebody what they do in their spare time, This is how we ask them. Che cosa fai nel tempo libero? So, che cosa, what, fai, you do, literally in the spare time. In Italian, in general, we will see it later on as well. We do not use the possessive as much as the possessives are used in English. So you don't need to say in your spare time. You can just say in the spare time. And we assume it is yours. So, che cosa fai nel tempo libero? We have a few ideas, the usual suspects, really. And feel free, in fact, to add the activities that you do in your spare time. They are maybe different from these ones, maybe more exciting, or maybe just completely different. We always go for the usual suspects, as I said. So this is just a list, some ideas. Let's read them all. You can obviously give a complete sentence starting with nel tempo libero, and then you tell your activity. So we can say nel tempo libero guardo la TV o guardo la televisione. O you can say nel tempo libero vado al cinema. I go to the cinema. So cinema is an international word, really. So we leave it as it is. We pronounce it in Italian. CI is ci. Vado al cinema. Faccio sport. Literally, I do sport. So we don't play, literally. We do sport. Gioco a tennis. I play tennis. And remember here, when you want to say that you play a certain sport in particular, you need the verb giocare, to play a game, to play a sport, not to play an instrument, which is different. And then you need the word a before the sport. For example, if you play golf, then you would say gioco a golf. If you play cricket, gioco a cricket, etc. You could also say nel tempo libero lavoro in giardino. I work in the garden, meaning I do some gardening. Or esco con gli amici. I go out with my friends. Again, here we don't have my. Literally, you're saying I go out with the friends. And we do assume they're yours. Leggo un libro. I read a book. Again, you don't need to read your book. You can just read a book. Faccio un giro in bicicletta. I go for a trip, a little round on a bike. And so we'll see. In fact, let me remind you before with means of transport, we use in, and I do have a separate video, not in this playlist, but one of those other videos where I cover different topics, where I talk about the preposition in, including preposition in with means of transport and places. So you can watch the video. Talks about, as I said, preposition a and preposition in, especially after the verb to go, andare. This, as I said, is in a separate video. And here I have listed all the verbs that I have used for these activities that you can do in the spare time. We have in order. We have guardare. Guardare is to look at or to watch, is a regular verb. We have andare. Andare is to go. We have fare. Fare is to do or to make. Giocare is to play. Remember, giocare is to play a game, to play a sport, not an instrument. For an instrument, there is a separate, different verb, a different word. Lavorare, which is to work. Uscire, which is to go out, to exit as well. In this case, we've seen means to go out. And leggere, leggere is to read. Now I have underlined the irregular verbs. Instead, the other ones are regular verbs. Remember the irregular verbs, when we conjugate them, so when we change them according to the different persons, they change a lot. The root of the verb changes. For example, we have andare here, to go, and then we have vado here, I go. So the actual stem of the word has changed. Instead, the regular verbs like guardare, giocare, lavorare, leggere, in this case, are still very similar to the infinitive, so the verb in the original form. You're just dropping the last bit of the verb and adding your endings. Remember that I have a separate video, not on this playlist, but on the other videos, varied topics, which talks about how to conjugate the present tense of regular verbs. So if you haven't looked at that, please do so, and this will make a little bit more sense. These are activities that you can do in your spare time. And let's see if we want to say when we do these things. So we can learn, for example, days of the week or different times of the day, the morning, afternoon, evening, night. We can also say how often we do something. So some ideas, again, obviously, there is always a lot more than what I gave you in these lessons. And these are things that it is better to learn gradually instead of trying to memorize too many things. But there is a very good opportunity to learn these, let's call them expressions of time, meaning when you do things. When you're talking about activities or hobbies, pastimes, in this case, that maybe you do regularly. So you could say, first of all, we have the question quando, which is when. So you could say ogni giorno, which means each day or every day. This is a very useful word to learn, ogni. As I said, it means each or every, because it is followed by the singular. You don't have to think about who wanted to change it, plural, femi, what is it? You don't have to worry about that. You can just use ogni, followed by, in this case, we have ogni giorno, every day, ogni sera, every evening, ogni mattina, every morning, or ogni sabato, every Saturday. So it depends, obviously, what you need to say. You can also say la domenica mattina, Sunday morning, or il sabato on a Saturday. Particularly here, we have la domenica and il sabato. So he actually specifically saying the Sunday and the Saturday. This means that every Sunday morning or every Saturday, you do this activity. So this is like saying on Sundays or on Sunday mornings, on Saturdays, or on a Saturday, meaning every Sunday morning, every Saturday. This is when you have this article before, in this specific example, before the day of the week. You can also say how often you do these things, these activities. So you can say spesso, often, sempre, always, qualche volta, sometimes, or maybe you never do these things. In this case, you use non and then mai. You have the dots in between because in between non and mai, you need to put the verb. So, for example, non esco mai con gli amici. It sounds like a double negative in English because you have the non, which is don't or not, and then you have mai, which is never. But it is not a double negative in Italian, that's how it is. So, non esco mai con gli amici, I never go out with my friends. Non leggo mai un libro, I never read a book. Non faccio mai un giro in bicicletta. So that is the position of the verb when you're saying that you never do something. You need a non, the verb, and then mai, and then the rest of the information that you're giving. In this case, we have amici, libro, bicicletta. When you are talking about your pastimes, your activities, you can also say who you do these activities with or where. So, con chi, with whom, literally. Here we've got an example, con gli amici, with my friends. You can have somebody's name, con Marco, con Valeria. Oh gosh, our two friends, they were going to use forever. Con mia moglie, my wife, mio marito, my husband, etc., etc. And you can also say where, dove. It could be in città, in town, a casa, at home, in campagna, in the countryside, etc. Again, these are just ideas to build your vocabulary, and then gradually you can add more and more. So yes, so this is some ideas of what we can do in our spare time. But please, if you do things that are completely different from these boring things of going to the cinema and watching TV and reading a book, if you do something extremely exciting or very, very different, let me know. Put it in a comment in Italian and let me know how you spend your spare time instead. Now, how do I spend my spare time? What do I do? Lavoro in giardino. It's not spare time, it's like work mixed with pleasure, really. Lavoro in giardino, faccio ginnastica. Ginnastica is not gymnastics, it's just exercise, by the way. O faccio una passeggiata con i cani. I go for a walk with my dogs. O disegno, which is to draw. Disegnare is to draw. O qualche volta navigo su internet. Navigare is to navigate or surf the internet. Who doesn't these days? So this is what I do when I do have a little bit of spare time. Although in my life, everything is a mixture between duty and pleasure. It's all one. Right. So I hope this is useful and it helps you to build your vocabulary and your verbs. I would recommend when you're learning to start organizing all the new words in a folder is so useful. I know maybe you just want to listen to these videos, which is fine, obviously. However, if you want to learn or when you're learning, it really helps to organize all your knowledge, all the things that you have learned into different groups. You can use a folder and divide, for example, these are all the regular verbs. If you want, you can have these are all the regular verbs in are, in ere, in ire. Separately, you can have your irregular verbs. You can have in another folder or another page your adjectives. You can have expressions of times that you have now, which is expressions of time. I also mean not just often and never and always, but also later, earlier, and all this type of words. It really helps when you've got a folder. It really helps because you know that the information you have is organized, and this means that also your mind will feel more organized. Otherwise, it's like, oh, yes, I need this word, but where can it be? Where did I write it? You have to go through, I don't know, hundreds of pages, maybe if you've been taking notes. Instead, if it's all well organized, you know exactly where to find it. And it makes it really easier to think of a sentence that you want to say. Also, especially because if you know where to find it, it gives you the confidence first of all, and also especially for those who have photographic memory, you can almost see it. You say, ah, yes, it is in that page, and I remember I wrote it just the top right of the page. So it really helps instead of having, I don't know, many pages full of many words, but then you don't know where to find the information you need. So this is just a little advice, but then everybody can do whatever they want, obviously, as usual. Right, before going, let me remind you that I do private tuition. So if you're interested, please let me know. The lessons will be one-to-one or very small groups. And it doesn't matter which part of the world you are following, because that's the beauty of working online. We can find a suitable time that is convenient for both. So yes, do contact me if you are interested in having private tuition, which would be with Zoom. And yes, with Zoom. I will go now. And so this was lesson 9, lezione 9. And it will be part of the Italian for beginner in the playlist. You remember all the other videos are separate and they cover different topics of higher levels as well. And I will say bye for now, and I will see you next time with lesson 10, lezione 10. Arrivederci, ciao!